would have thought Donald Trump is back? The Trump meme coin is up 10% today. It's a top performing cryptocurrency in the last 24 hours. Now let's have a look at what's behind this. Does it make sense to buy Trump? Does it make sense to potentially even bet on falling prices? Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. So we are currently at $11.66. We are up 9.99%. Everything else performed worse today. Now let's not kid ourselves. Most people got burnt with Trump. If you were very early, if you bought in the first few hours after launch, you made nice gains. If you were late, however, you're likely still in the negatives, even after today's little price rally. Now, I try to be early on this channel. I publish videos very quickly. And the same was true for the discussion on the Trump token. So it was viewed 61,000 times. At the time, we were still at $13, and we then subsequently rallied to $70. So it's all about being ahead of the curve. If you want to be ahead of the curve in the future, of course, feel free to subscribe over here. Again, I try to be as quick as possible. Now, here's the sad reality around the Trump token. It was mainly the people in Asia that made money with the token. What we see over here is the performance of the token according to different time zones. And APAC got pretty much all of the gains because the US and Europe was mainly asleep during the Trump launch. Europe could still take a bit of the performance, but the US pretty much got 100% crushed. The average American investor is down 82% versus the average investor in Asia more than doubled their money. Now, I always like to look at what are retail investors doing, what are the whales doing, right? Because we want to know, is there some retail adoption? Is there still interest by the small people? But we also want to know if the whales are currently potentially manipulating the price. Now, for the Trump token, we can see that there's pretty much zero change across all wallet cohorts. Now on the left, we've got the number of retail investors. So that's the wallets that have at least 100 Trump tokens. That's worth a bit over $1,000 worth of the token. For the chart in the middle, we go at 10x in minimum holdings. So that's now 1,000 tokens or $10,000. And for the chart on the right, it's another 10x. So that's now 10,000 tokens or $100,000 worth of the token. Some whales did purchase in the last few days. So the number of whales went from 407 to 421. The number of retail investors did not change. However, the trading volume tends to be dominated more and more by those smaller retail investors. So it seems like a few whales are silently accumulating despite seeing very, very little trading volume recently. This hints towards a potential preparation for a pump and dump. Retail demand has pretty much stopped on the 25th of January. So this is now the purchases of the Trump token via credit card, so via the Moonshot platform. And so a lot of the centralized exchanges, they probably purchased their Trump around this price here relative to Solana. So this is now Trump relative to Sol, not Trump in US dollars, because the Trump token is listed on the Solana chain. And now it tends to move pretty much in tandem with Solana with a slight downwards trend. But again, I believe that we could be in for a potential manipulative move of 13%, maybe 17% versus Solana. At higher price levels like this, it might make sense to short Trump. At the current level, we seem to be somewhat balanced, right? We have bounced off that current level several times in the past. In general, it's really hard to make money now by trying to bet on rising prices. It's really much easier to just bet on most altcoins doing worse than the general market doing worse than Bitcoin and Solana. Solana itself is actually in a pretty bad spot. So what you see over here is the Solana dominance, how much of all of crypto is in Solana, and this tends to peak at around 3.5%. So this top here is autumn of 2021, and then we were hovering around that top for pretty much the entire 2024. But the issue is that the downside from that top is pretty massive. This is an underperformance of Solana versus the rest of crypto by 84%. And we might have just started, right? When we take this price action and we overlay this with today, the pain in Solana might have just started. We are down 37% versus the rest of crypto so far, but we could fall another 73. It seems like the sentiment that we currently experience in crypto and in meme coin trading and in risk on behavior is not just specific to crypto, it seems to also move towards traditional finance as well. Because have a look at this, right? This is the gold price. It's now very close to $3,000. In the last 12 months, it appreciated by 46%. Here's the gold price relative to Bitcoin. So whenever this is going up, the market is getting more risk off. So had you bought gold instead of Bitcoin in November of 2021 and then sold it 1 year later, you would have 4 times more money. And if you then moved it from gold back into Bitcoin, you would have been spared of an underperformance of 77%. And now it seems like we're just starting again with the market turning more and more risk off. Potentially gold could outperform Bitcoin by another 180% if history is any indication. Now have a look at this, right? This is gold relative to the S&P 500. It's massively outperforming stocks and people are getting very much risk off. People are spooked by Trump's trade wars and tariffs. But check this out. This is gold relative to US money supply. Again, there is more room to potentially go higher, 40% or so. And so really we have to ask ourselves, does it make sense to go now really risk on to buy those risky assets like the Trump meme coin? Or does it make sense to just go with the current momentum? Because in the end, I believe the trend really is your friend. Just check out this. This is the Buffett indicator. This is the market cap of US stocks relative to the US GDP. And this goes in waves. This here is the dot-com crisis. This is the global financial crisis. Since then we recovered quite a bit, but we are now at all-time highs. We're probably not going to be at 200% forever. Most of the time we had been at 50, maybe 100%. 200% seems like the stock market might be quite a bit overvalued. Right? It could easily drop 50% from here. And that's a problem, right? Because over time, there's more and more connection between Bitcoin and traditional finance. If the stock market suddenly crashes, then this will of course also bring down Bitcoin, as happened during the COVID crash. And that will then of course also bring down Solana even further. And then of course the Trump token as well, right? Trump is pretty much the most risky of those assets. Thus, it will have most levered exposure to potential stock market correction. I don't have a crystal ball either. I don't know where prices will go, but I do have an impression what's currently comparatively cheap and comparatively expensive. And it seems like risk on assets, especially tech stocks, especially crypto, tends to be rather on the expensive side now. At least if you still own no gold at all, then that's probably a problem when I'm looking at charts like this. Clearly, the overall situation in crypto has changed recently, and there seems to be one event that started it all off. What we've got over here is the Bitcoin price, and this red circle marks when Donald Trump launched his meme coin. So that's this over here. Most people got burnt with that meme coin. If you bought this in the first few hours after launch, you made money. If you didn't, you lost money. Since the launch, Bitcoin lost 21% of its value. Of course, the Trump token lost much more. A lot of other altcoins also lost more. And so the majority of people lose, of course, when the market looks like this. There's pretty much nobody that has their entire crypto portfolio in Maker or in Bearer or in Bitcoin Cash. Even if you hold those tokens, you probably have a diversified portfolio and you're down with all of those other tokens. Now here's something that's not so obvious. We see Bitcoin over here. Bitcoin went up by 14% in the last year. And this is now the top 100 ordered by their performance in the last year. And there are a few altcoins that did better than Bitcoin. 2 of them being gold derivatives, so PEXG and Tether Gold. But there's also others that performed slightly better. But the vast majority of altcoins actually performed much, much worse. If you picked a random altcoin in the top 100 1 year ago, you've got roughly an 80% chance that you underperformed simply Bitcoin. And that's of course a problem, right? Because altcoins have more risk, and so in theory, they should also perform better, especially during times when Bitcoin tends to go up. And so I don't try to find the needle in the haystack. I don't try to pick the bearer coin in order to then make money. I do the exact opposite. I bet on the vast majority of altcoins doing worse than Bitcoin. And most of the time, that strategy makes money. Have a look at this, for example. This is Matic relative to Bitcoin, a very constant underperformance. Or this is Balancer relative to Bitcoin. Again, a very constant underperformance. And we can make money from that relative valuation. We don't have to bet on Balancer or on Matic going down versus the US dollar. We can bet on it doing worse than Bitcoin and make money when this thing continues to go down. Or we can also mirror that chart, right? We can just bet on this continue to go up. This is now Bitcoin relative to Matic. That's the logarithmic chart. This is the linear chart. So why does this happen? The reason is tokenomics, right? It's the altcoins that print more and more tokens, and that token allocation goes to the insiders, it goes to the developers. And for meme coins, we don't necessarily have an expanding supply, but for meme coins, we tend to have a lot of ownership by the insiders as well that simply sell off over time. And that's why Bitcoin performs so well versus all of those altcoins. And that's why I believe those are the kinds of charts we want to bet on. Yes, we can of course try to time Bitcoin itself, and we can try to buy this at 16K and then sell it at 100K. And this is a possible way to make money. I'm also trying to time Bitcoin. But why would we try to pick the few altcoins that perform still okay? Why not just flip this thing around and make money when those bubbles are red? So for example, over here on the 6th of December, I have made a premium update video how I have sold some of my Bitcoin because a liquidity crunch was incoming. So that was over here. I've made another announcement on the 25th of February how I've sold all of my speculative Bitcoin and how I'm selling all of my altcoin positions. And that was over here. I opened a position betting on falling prices of Chainlink on the 23rd of January. I opened a short position on Dogecoin and on PancakeSwap on the 14th of February. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I've now closed the Chainlink position, so it lost 42% in the span of a few weeks. I've also closed the Cake short, which went down versus BNB by 27%. And I've also closed the Dogecoin short, also in profit. So really, when you know what you're doing, if you know how to do the proper risk management, that you don't get liquidated, and when you have the odds in your favor during times like this, when most altcoins underperform Bitcoin, then it is rather straightforward to make money like this. We don't have to find the needle in the haystack. We don't have to make 100x returns with a random meme coin. We can simply just let our capital compound by making 20% here and 40% over here. Most people are scared of betting on falling prices, but that's why I've made dedicated tutorial videos on the topic, how to do the proper risk management, how to set up those positions also in DeFi and Web3, not just with centralized exchanges, how to do this cost efficiently, and also how to select the right assets to short. There's more than 100 tutorial videos in total in premium. The link is down below. It's thebitcoinstrategy.com. Of course, I'm also sharing in detail how I currently see the market. There's a premium update video every 3 to 4 days. And I challenge you to look at other influencers, what they said during those times, right? Have a look at the date, have a look at the title of those different premium update videos, and let me know who said already on February 18th that it might make sense to bet on falling prices, or that crypto stopped expanding in the last 2 to 3 weeks, or how your influencer is selling aggressively. I don't really see many other influencers saying it like it is. Most YouTube channels just sell hopium. Most YouTube channels just want to push up their own bags, but they're not really looking realistically at the prices. They're not really looking at how much are people actually already in profit and when will that profit be taken. So if you appreciate during times like this that I keep it real, then of course feel free to give this video a like. Feel free to also subscribe. I publish videos regularly. And of course, feel free to also check out premium. The link is down below. Looking very much forward to seeing you there as well. Cheers.